everybody, it's time for another 21 for 2021, and today it's all about movies, and this could almost be a remake of my list from 2020. We all know what happened last year, but let's get started looking at movies that are going to come out this year. We're going to see these movies one way or another. A lot of them will be available in theaters, and some of them will be available in streaming, but let's take a look at this list. We're starting with number 21. It is Death on the Nile. Kenneth Branagh returns as Hercule Poirot. This is Agatha Christie's famous detective, and Death on the Nile is a follow-up to Murder on the Orient Express, and the formula kind of stays the same. It's a massive detective mystery movie with a star-studded cast. Gal Gadot is in this, Armie Hammer, Letitia Wright, Annette Bening, even Russell Brand is in this movie. I had a lot of fun with Murder on the Orient Express, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what Branagh can do again as this character and as the director behind the camera. I think this is going to be a lot of fun to watch in 2021. Number 20 is The Kingsman. Now, this is the prequel film to the Kingsman series of movies, which I have enjoyed. Matthew Vaughn is returning as the director of this one, and we've got a big focus on Ralph Fiennes, I think, as kind of like the original Kingsman. And so we're going back in time a little bit with a little less kind of up-to-date technology, but it still looks like it's going to be filled with lots of cool spy hijinks, lots of subterfuge, lots of interesting characters, lots of zany, over-the-top stunt sequences, all of which I enjoy. So I am really looking forward to checking this movie out when it finally does arrive. Number 19 is Godzilla vs. Kong, and I don't know too much about this movie. I know that it picks up on the Kong Skull Island picture that we saw not too long ago with Samuel L. Jackson. And this one stars Millie Bobby Brown and Rebecca Hall and Kyle Chandler, actors that I really enjoy watching. But really, this movie is about a giant lizard and a giant ape, and they're going to battle each other, and that is going to be enough to get my attention. I hope it's great. Some of these giant beastie movies have been up and down for me, but I think this one is going to be made with an intention to provide a lot of fun and a lot of spectacle. We're talking about some giant monsters going toe-to-toe, so I have big hopes for Godzilla vs. Kong. Number 18 is Morbius. This is Jared Leto stepping into the title role and into the SpiderVerse, so this is going to be very interesting, and of course there's going to be some weird threading because, as we all know, the Spider-Man movie universe is about to get very meta and go into all kinds of different corners of previous Spider-Man movies. There's already some interesting allusions, even from what we've seen in this little teaser trailer that's floating around out there. Leto's a good actor, though, and I have been enjoying what Sony and Marvel have been concocting with the recent Spider-Man movies, so I'm excited to see what they do with Morbius. Number 17 is the brand new Mortal Kombat movie, which I know nothing about except that I love these characters and I love the fighting games, and this should be kind of wacky and over the top and crazy, but also probably pretty violent and bloody and gory if it stays true to the roots of the games. I do know that the actor that plays Jimmy Olsen on Supergirl is in this, but I don't really know any of the other actors. But you know what? I'm in. Like, it's a video game movie, and hopefully there have been a ton of lessons learned from lots of lame video game movies, and this actually turns out to be pretty fun. My fingers are crossed for Mortal Kombat back on the big screen. Now, switching over into a completely different direction is West Side Story. This is directed by Steven Spielberg, so that's got my attention. It's a famous musical. I enjoyed the old classic 60s West Side Story, and I saw some productions of this on stage as I was coming up as an actor. It's got famous music and great big showpiece sequences, but I'm really curious to see what Steven Spielberg does with the cinematography and the framing of all of these moments. Ansel Elgort is playing Tony, Rachel Zegler is playing Maria, and Rita Moreno is coming back to West Side Story. She was in the 1961 original, which is crazy. But, all my faith in this film is really about Steven Spielberg. If he wants to make a musical, if he wants to remake West Side Story, sure, I want to see that movie. Number 15 is Top Gun Maverick, a sequel to the 80s Top Gun movie starring Tom Cruise, and this was supposed to be the big blockbuster film of summer 2020, so it's been crazy to have to wait so long along for this. The trailers look like it's going to be a lot of fun, but also blatant propaganda for people to join the Navy, just like the first film was. I think we're going to see some pretty incredible aeronautical stunt sequences. It's fun to watch Tom Cruise on screen, and it's interesting that he's going back to a character so many years later. Not uncommon in Hollywood right now, but this is going to be fascinating to watch. I just hope it's a good movie. Number 14 is Uncharted. This is Tom Holland stepping into the role of Nathan Drake, and Mark Wahlberg is going to be Victor Sullivan. So this is going to be a very interesting pairing, and it's going to be so tough as a massive fan of the game franchise not to compare what I see on screen to what I have played on screen. Certainly the source material has always evoked something very cinematic. It's always been a tip of the fedora to the Indiana Jones franchise, so it will be very interesting to see how this stacks up to the indie movies, but also I hope it just exists as a fun couple of hours of escapism. And I know that Sony is hoping that it is the kickstart to a brand new film franchise. We'll see. Number 13 is Ghostbusters Afterlife. This one stars Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things, and Paul Rudd is in this movie, but it also has original cast members from the Ghostbusters films: Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson. It looks like it's being made with a lot of love and obviously a huge nostalgic pull around this, but Ghostbusters as a franchise, it's endured a whole bunch of change and a whole bunch of adaptation over the years. There's been good movies, there's been good video games, there's been good animated series, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what this kind of nostalgic tinged reinvention of Ghostbusters is all about. And I think at the very least, especially when you consider the cast that's in this movie, it's going to have some pretty good laughs in it. Number 12 is Marvel's ShangChi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I know nothing about this character. I really don't know anything about the movie, and frankly, that's kind of where I want to be at. I just want to go to this film and be completely surprised and blown away and entertained. It's been a long time since we've been able to watch a full 2-hour Marvel experience, and I hope that this is the start of something really incredible in the Marvel universe. Obviously, it's awesome that we've got an Asian superstar in the mix, and it's a movie loaded with Asian actors, and he's a Canadian, the guy that's playing Shang-Chi, which is super cool. So yeah, I'm fired up, I'm signed up, I'm a big Marvel MCU fan, and I hope that this character and this story and this mythology, ticks all the boxes and is an awesome new addition to the MCU. Number 11 is A Quiet Place Part 2. This is John Krasinski and Emily Blunt returning. I don't want to spoil anything for those that haven't seen A Quiet Place Part 1, but it was a very enjoyable, spooky horror movie, but it was more of a suspense movie than anything. It wasn't really like a big gore fest, and it wasn't a massive special effects fest either. It was just really, really well made. So that's what I'm looking forward to out of this sequel. The actors were great, and of course there are going to be a whole bunch of new actors added into this movie to expand the universe. This was also supposed to come out last year, so we've been waiting a long time for this thing. But it was incredibly effective, the way that they used sound to kind of heighten the suspense throughout the film was just marvelous. So I can't wait to see what they do to surprise us with this new one, and I hope that it's as good as the original, because I really enjoyed A Quiet Place Part 1. Number 10 is James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. This one completely scraps that last terrible Suicide Squad movie, and James Gunn has got a cast of thousands in this thing. Margot Robbie is back, but we've also got Pete Davidson, John Cena, Jared Leto, Nathan Fillion, Idris Elba, Alice Braga, Taika Waititi is in this, Jai Courtney is back, Peter Capaldi, and Joel Kinnaman is back as well. So, obviously, and there's more. That's just a tiny bit of the amount of people that are in this movie. It's loaded with actors, and it's loaded with special effects and crazy stunts, and it looks like it's going to be silly and over the top and a lot of fun. And, James Gunn is good at assembling a lot of really talented people and making something kind of crazy and enjoyable, and I can't wait to see what he does with the Suicide Squad. Number 9 is Free Guy. This one stars Ryan Reynolds. Taika Waititi is in this one as well. I think he's in everything these days. Jacksepticeye has a part in this movie, and Joe Keery from Stranger Things is also in this one. It's about an NPC video game character that realizes that he is in fact inside of a video game and starts to kind of exploit the opportunities that exist within his virtual world here. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, and I know that the director, Sean Levy, and one of the screenwriters, Zach Penn, did everything that they could to kind of integrate with the video game world and reached out to people that we know here on EP, but lots of people throughout the video game community to kind of make this feel as as authentic as possible, but also to kind of goose it all and have a lot of fun and create lots of hilarious moments in this. The trailers have been really cool, and Ryan Reynolds has become incredibly dependable over the last several years to entertain us in some marvelous ways. I can't wait to check out Free Guy, and it has been a bit of a wait, so it's going to be good to finally see this on the big screen. And speaking of waiting a long time, Black Widow, which was gonna launch, and then it wasn't gonna launch, and then it was delayed, and then we thought, is it coming to Disney Plus? It's finally gonna come out in 2021. Of course, this is Natasha Romanoff's. I think it's kind of sort of crafted like an origin story. We're gonna see lots of other characters and lots of new threads that are going to propagate throughout the MCU. But I am a huge fan of Scarlett Johansson. I think she's been phenomenal in the role of this character. I think she's delivered some really awesome moments for us throughout the course of the MCU film, so I'm so glad that she's getting her own picture. Totally deserved it, totally justified, and I hope it feels unique and separate and distinct from the rest of the MCU films that are out there. I just can't believe that we're finally going to be able to see this movie in 2021. Number 7 comes from one of my favorite filmmakers out there. It's Wes Anderson, who always has a quirky, very unique style to the films that he makes, and this one looks no different. It's called The French Dispatch, and it's another cast of thousands. Bill Murray is in there, a frequent collaborator of Wes Anderson's. Owen Wilson is in this one, Benicio del Toro, Timothée Chalamet, Tilda Swinton, and Frances McDormand, and Léa Seydoux, and Adrian Brody, all kinds of awesome actors. And it looks insane. It looks like it's one of those 4:3 perspective, color-muted movies where everything is completely symmetrical. I don't really know what the movie is about. It sounds like journalists are being sent to all kinds of crazy locations to find good stories to come back with, and they've got to navigate these crazy adventures. I just love the fact that Wes Anderson is making his brand of movies, and I've been so entertained by a lot of his films, so I can't wait to see The French Dispatch. Number 6 is the 7th Mission Impossible movie, which is scheduled to come out this year. I don't know if it will. There's been delays. It's been back and forth. I don't know. Tom Cruise famously got very angry that people weren't following COVID-19 procedures on his set, and so I don't know what's happened. I don't know if they're actually going to finish the film and get it all through post-production and all the visual effects that they need to apply, but I have really been enjoying the last several Mission Impossible movies, especially the ones helmed by Christopher McQuarrie, who is one of my favorite directors out there right now. So I can't wait to see this thing. Obviously, Tom Cruise goes all out when he makes one of these Mission Impossible movies. The stunts are crazy, but he also has been pulling in a lot of fantastic actors. So I really do hope that we get Mission Impossible 7 this year. I can't wait to watch it. Number 5 is The Matrix 4. The Wachowskis are back in the saddle, and Keanu Reeves is back as Neo. We've got Carrie-Anne Moss back in the picture. I don't really know anything about what they're doing with The Matrix 4, which is kind of the way I like it. I just really approve of all of these original ingredients being put into the cake mix, and hopefully it is delicious when this thing is finally fully baked. I would imagine that there have been lots of delays in production as they've assembled this. I also would imagine that it's filled with all kinds of incredible spectacle and amazing visual effects. I can't wait to see this film, and there's something about this franchise that just feels incredibly contemporary, you know, especially when you hear about massive hacks that are being perpetrated around the world and all the cyber kind of warfare that's going on. Matrix 4, I hope it's fantastic. I hope it lives up to the quality and the expectations that we had coming out of the first Matrix film. You know, I wasn't super crazy about Matrix 2 and 3. There's definitely some fun stuff in both of those movies, but, you know, I'm fired up for the Matrix 4. Number 4 is The Eternals. This is another massive MCU movie. It's another team-up movie with a huge roster of actors. Angelina Jolie is in this movie, Salma Hayek, Richard Madden, Harry Styles, Kit Harington, and famously, Kumail Nanjiani got super ripped for his role as Kingo. Don't ask me what The Eternals is all about. I have downloaded some of the Jack Kirby original books, and they're cool, but I haven't really dug into the mythology around this series. I just know that it ties in with the massive kind of cosmic vibes of where the MCU is headed. I love the creative risks. I love the casting that's happening with this movie. I love the ambition and the epic scope and scale that we're likely to see with this film. I love that Jack Kirby's work is being honored in such a magnificent way. I just hope it's a fantastic film, but you know what? I'm there day one for The Eternals. Number 3 is the third of the Tom Holland-led Spider-Man movies. We don't know what the title is going to be yet, but I love the first 2 Tom Holland Spideys. I think he's an awesome Peter Parker, but we're going to get more than one Peter Parker in this movie. We're getting Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield back as Peter Parker / Spider-Man from different Earths. We've got Benedict Cumberbatch jumping into this picture as Doctor Strange again, and he's going to be taking us to all of these different realities in the SpiderVerse that this film is crafting for us. Dr. Otto Octavius is scheduled to be in this movie, played once again by Alfred Molina, and Jamie Foxx is coming back as Electro. All of this is incredibly surreal. Obviously, what this does, it gives Marvel and Sony, who owns the film rights to Spider-Man, to go off in all kinds of unique and interesting directions now with the Spider-Verse. And presumably, we're probably going to get a tease of Miles Morales in the Spider-Man costume as well. Yeah, I think this is going to be a huge event in the MCU and in the Sony-created Spider-Verse that they're building with their movies. But I think for Hollywood and for all, moviegoers around the world, we're all going to be incredibly excited to see how this comes together. And hopefully, my fingers are crossed that it does actually come out in 2021. Now, number 2 is No Time to Die. This is Daniel Craig's last at-bat as James Bond 007. Cary Joji Fukunaga is the director here, and apparently he has really impressed the producers, and there's talk that he might be coming back for another James Bond film. This one has sat for a while, and there's been a lot of speculation that somebody, one of the streaming services out there, was going to pick this up and get it out to us. It's been delayed a number of times. It's finally going to be dropping in 2021. It looks action-packed. It looks super sleek. It looks like it's going to tie together a lot of the threads that were a part of Daniel Craig's whole run as this character. And I think we're going to be in for some dark stuff with this movie, all of which I'm down for. I've loved Daniel Craig as this character. It's going to be sad to say goodbye to him, but if this movie does it justice, it could be fantastic, especially if it reaches the heights that Logan did for Hugh Jackman's run as Wolverine. Now, I don't know if it's going to be quite that good, but I have a lot of hope in my heart and a tremendous amount of hype for No Time to Die. Number 1 on my list is Denis Villeneuve's Dune. It was the same thing that I had on my 2020 list, but thankfully we're finally going to be able to see this movie. There's been some contention with HBO Max and Warner Brothers deciding to put everything on the streaming service as well as in theaters at the same time. Denis Villeneuve has not been happy about that, and he's been really kind of hinting that it may not lead to good things for the future of the Dune series, which would suck, but hopefully this movie is just stunning. It looks beautiful already from the imagery that we've been able to see in the trailers. The cast is massive. Timothée Chalamet is in this, Dave Bautista, we've got Jason Momoa, Rebecca Ferguson, Oscar Isaac, Zendaya, all kinds of great actors, and the movie deserves it. The book that Frank Herbert wrote is so rich with so many interesting characters and so much well-crafted sci-fi storytelling. I can't wait to see what the master Denis Villeneuve can do with this. I'm so fired up for this, but honestly, I think I'm just scratching the surface with these 21 picks here. So much stuff got pushed back and delayed last year. I think we're going to have a lot of surprises throughout the year. Hopefully, not too many surprise delays. Hopefully, a lot of this stuff actually does hit the silver screen and our big home screens as well. But there you go. There are 21 of my picks for flicks to watch in 2021. Thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you soon. And until then, play forever.